Congressman, thank you for being with us. Let me go right to it. The president says he will decide in the next 2 weeks whether the U.S. will strike Iran's nuclear facilities, despite our intelligence community insisting Iran does not have nuclear weapons. In Congress, there's some division among Democrats over how to handle the crisis, with some lawmakers pushing to stop the president from declaring war without congressional approval. Should Congress use this 2-week window to press Trump to seek its consent on attacking Iran, as the War Powers Act still seems to require?
Well, thank you very much for having me, Reverend. Absolutely. I applaud Senator Kaine of Virginia, who raised this issue several days ago. And it's kind of interesting here. The same country, Iran, factors into the last time we made this kind of a decision without involving the Congress, and you see what it got us. And now we are trying to get out of that hole, and it would seem to me that it would go without any discussion, that we would take this issue directly to the Congress, get the Congress involved in this, develop some kind of consensus as to what we should do, how we should do it, when we should do it, and then let's see whether the American people will come along with this. But just acting in a long ranger fashion is not the way to go. And I thought we had learned our lessons on that.
Now, pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil is free tonight after a federal judge ordered an end to his 3-month detention by the Trump administration over his criticisms of Israel. The administration's appealing the decision, blasting it as judicial overreach. But take a listen to Khalil's message to America's immigrants earlier today.
Whether you are a citizen, an immigrant, anyone on this land, you're not illegal. That doesn't make you less of a human. And this is what the administration is trying to do, to dehumanize me, to dehumanize the immigrants, to dehumanize anyone who actually does not agree.
Congressman, does Khalil's release mark a turning point in the president's immigration purge?
I don't think so. I think that what is happening here is that the judicial system that we rely upon in these instances finally stepped up. It's been 3 months. I think probably 2 months and 29 days too late, but better late than never. So the system is beginning to work. And I would hope that the appeal is taken up rather quickly so that everybody can get some definition to their lives. You know, I came out of, like you, we came out of a protest movement. This country was born out of a protest movement. That's what the Boston Tea Party was. It was a protest. So that's fundamental to this country. And so there's nothing wrong with protesting, and we ought not allow any kind of intervention to throw cold water on us expressing our First Amendment rights. And so I would think that this is not a turning point, but maybe the judicial system stepping in at a very critical time.
Now, Vice President J.D. Vance was in Los Angeles yesterday. He bashed California Democrats who've condemned Trump's migrant purge in the city, like Senator Alex Padilla, who was forced out of a DHS news conference last week by federal agents. Take a listen to how Vance misnames Padilla and how the senator responds.
Well, I was hoping Jose Padilla would be here to ask a question, but unfortunately, I guess he decided not to show up because there wasn't the theater.
He knows my name. He knows my name. Look, sadly, it's just an indicator of how petty and unserious this administration is. He's the Vice President of the United States. You think he'd take the situation in Los Angeles more seriously?
Now, for context, Jose Padilla is a U.S. citizen convicted of supporting the al-Qaeda terror group in 2007 and sentenced to 21 years in prison. So clearly that was not the name of the governor, and I suspect Vice President Vance may have known that. But what do you take from Vance's comments, Congressman?
Well, I don't really know Vance on a personal basis. We've met. I've observed him for a while. I do know Alex on a very personal basis. I do know his name. I do know him. He is probably one of the most subdued personalities that I've ever been around. And when I first met him, he was Secretary of State out in California. And when I came away from that meeting, came back east, I told dozens of people what I thought about him, and as we would say, all good. And so for him to be insulted this way, and for the Vice President of the United States to disregard, disrespect a United States Senator the way he did in this instance is beyond the pale. But I guess we're getting to the point that we're going to expect that from this administration, and that's a shame.
Now, let me go to this issue. Trump complained during this week's Juneteenth holiday that America has, quote, too many non-working holidays, costing our country billions of dollars to keep all these businesses closed, end of quote. Now, I don't recall the president making this complaint on federal holidays that don't celebrate Black American freedom struggles. And mind you, he was all about Juneteenth when he was courting Black voters in 2020, saying that, and I'm quoting, he made Juneteenth very famous. This year, he didn't even acknowledge the day by name. What's your reaction, Congressman?
Well, my reaction is this. I suspect that the sweet spot for President Trump would be to eliminate January 15th, eliminate June 19th, and we would have exactly the number of federal holidays that he would find appropriate. And I think you get my drift.
Your drift, January 15th, Martin Luther King holiday, absolutely. And of course, June 19th is what we celebrated this weekend, Juneteenth. Let me raise this with you. This week, we also mark the 10th anniversary of the racist massacre at Mother Emanuel AME Church, which is right there in your Charleston, South Carolina district. You and several House Democrats marked the anniversary by reintroducing legislation to close a loophole that allowed the shooter to buy the gun he used to kill 9 members of Mother Emanuel, including its pastor, my friend, Reverend Pinckney. And you knew many, some of those that were killed. How would this proposal have saved their lives, Congressman?
Well, this young man, and I would call him that out of respect for his gender, got that gun because of a loophole that we have in our laws. The loophole is simply this. You have 3 days in which you have to wait for a background check, or if it's not completed, you can go ahead and get the gun. Now, something happened when this young man who was not eligible to have a gun, he had a record that made him ineligible to purchase a gun. So I don't know whether he put the address in wrong or somebody keyed the address wrong, but something went wrong during the background check and they did not catch it. They caught it. But it's beyond the 3rd day. I think it was around the 5th or 6th day when they caught it. But by this time, he had the gun and he set out to do what he had planned to do for a long time. And I think it's worth us mentioning this. This was not haphazard. This young man selected that church because of its history.
Right.
He studied the history of the church. There were 5 or 6 churches on his list, but this one had the most history to it, and he thought that if he did what he did, it would start, in his words, a race war. It didn't start a race war, but it should not have been able to get the gun in the first place. So what we are attempting to do is close that loophole. And my Republican friends are refusing to close that loophole. You mentioned Reverend Pinckney, and you knew him very well. He was an intern in my office when he was a college student in Columbia at Allen University. He became a very close friend over the years, lived in my congressional district. That church is in my congressional district. I know almost every one of those people, some of them very personally. And so this is a very personal thing with me and my family, and I am really appalled that my Republican friends refuse to allow us to close this loophole, and that's just a shame.
Before I let you go, Congressman, New Yorkers are about to nominate a new Democratic candidate for mayor. A few of the top candidates came by my National Action Network rally in the past few weeks, and this week you endorsed former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Can you tell us why?
I've had a long relationship with Andrew Cuomo. When he was Secretary of HUD, I was sitting in the Congress, and I put together 5 votes in the House of Representatives when President Bill Clinton was putting his budget together. And if you recall, that budget passed by only 2 votes. 5 people, all Southerners, got together in the House and negotiated for on that budget for our votes. And one of the things we negotiated for was to make sure that rural communities, Southern communities, got the benefit from Bill Clinton's empowerment zones and enterprise communities legislation. We voted for it. Bill Clinton committed to us, and one of those empowerment zones became the Sumter, my birthplace, Columbia, my residence empowerment zone. $100 million program. I negotiated all of that with what was then Secretary of HUD and now past president, now past governor, and now running for mayor of New York. And that's why Cuomo and I have maintained a relationship over these years. And he called me and asked could he continue, or someone called me on his behalf and asked me, was I still in my relationship with him? And I told him yes. They asked would I support him, and I told him yes. And so that's what this is all about. Somebody I've been working with for a long time. Now, I find it kind of interesting. I didn't drop out of the sky. I wore my first campaign button as a 12-year-old. I became president of my youth council of the NAACP before my 13th birthday. And so I've been working in politics and civil rights almost over 70 years. And so when you develop these relationships with people over the years, you don't just drop them because there is somebody else to consider. Yeah. I don't have anything against the other people in the race. I know 1 or 2 of them. I don't know all of them. Right. But people are free to support who they want to, and I'm not against any of them. I'm just for Cuomo, and I've been for him for a long time.